How's everyone doing? Welcome to another week of the live stream here. My name is Benjamin J. Shepherd, and I want to welcome you to week number 31 of the live stream here on the Bass with Benjamin live stream channel, or just the YouTube channel, really, that does live streams. I hope everyone has been having a great week so far. I'm just getting myself going here, getting my hands and fingers warmed up, getting the coffee going in my system. So this is always such a fun part of the week for me, amongst other things. But doing these live streams and connecting with you all, fellow bassists, fellow musicians, and this is the time where we can really just connect and nerd out about our love for bass playing. And so if you have any questions, anything to do with bass playing, pop it down in the chat, and I'll do my best to address your questions, whether it might be about gear or bass techniques, concepts, playing gigs, anything. Pop it down in the chat, and let's get the conversation, let's get the bass nerdery. I like to say nerdery, I don't know if it's a real word, but it is now. I like to have that going every single week, and we've been doing 31 weeks of that so far, which has been really great. So while more people show up and maybe some questions get going, I'm just gonna keep jamming out a little bit here, and then we can dive in some more. Mr. Nick Granville, how you doing? Good to see you, bro. Yeah, things are great, man. Wagner, nice to see you again. Greetings from Brazil. Nice. And thank you. I appreciate you tuning into the lives. And wherever you are in the world, I always appreciate connecting with you all. Yeah. Nice to see you again. Always good to see you. Fretboard Focus, John. How you doing, my bro? Hope you're doing well. You're a busy man. You've been doing a lot of recording, so I appreciate you just jumping on here, man. What are you recording? There we go. Groupings of 5. How's everyone doing? Fretboard Focus John is saying he's going to record some more exercises. Still practicing the arpeggios. Nice, man. That was cool that you applied that on the guitar. The minor 11, or yeah, utilizing the 11s in the minor and also sharp 11 for major. So. Oh, still got the reverb. I'm interested to. I gotta have a look at the video you sent me again. You playing it on guitar for doing this voicing right here. Did you just do it the same way, same kind of fingering? Well, I'm just curious on a guitar how you would do that, because essentially this voicing here, I mean, this is very unique to at least a 5-string bass, but definitely on a 6-string. So it's just such a nice widespread, and this is what you would call you would consider a drop 2 and 4 chord voicing, because essentially so in this case I'm playing a D major 7, and the reason why it's called, for those of you who don't know, the reason why it's called a drop voicing, and in this case a drop 2 and a drop 4. So say we were to take the arpeggio root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th of this D major 7, right, those notes. Now, because of the way the bass guitar is, we can't necessarily play the notes in that order like we could on a piano or maybe on a guitar because of the way it is. And I mean, technically you could do it on here, but you have to do this very uncomfortable kind of you know, shape where you have to really pivot your hand, and you got to kind of play your instrument in this manner to do so. So what we can do is a drop 2 and 4 voicing. Okay, what does that even mean? I know what drop scons are, but what's a drop 2 and 4 voicing? So essentially, we're going to drop the 2nd highest note in this, and we're going to drop the 4th highest note, which is essentially the lowest note, down the octave. So what we have is, okay, what's the 2nd highest note in this? Well, the 2nd highest note is this 5th, right? So we can put that down the octave. And then what's the 4th highest note? Well, it's the root note. So we can put the root note down the octave too. So it gives us this voicing. Now we can really utilize the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. But in terms of the order that when we put it in this drop 2 and 4 voicing, it's going to be root, 5th, 3rd, or major 10th, and we have the major 7th on top. So this is one of my absolute favorite voicings to play, especially on a 5-string or a 6-string bass. Now, what about for 4-stringers? If you can't do something like this, but you still want to make a very full-sounding chord, well, let's go back to the arpeggio. let's go back to that. The root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. What we can do, instead of doing a drop 2 and 4 voicing, we can do just a drop 2 voicing. So that means we're going to drop the, the 5th down the octave. All right, just the 5th. So we can get this sound. Instead of going, we're going to do this. So take the 5th down the octave, and we're going to do this. That's still a nice full chord. And you can do that for minor. Right? It's a nice 4-note voicing that gives you a nice lush sound too, especially when you play it up high. But you can definitely do that. Play it. And do it for dominant 7 as well. So that's a drop 2 voicing. So if you're playing a 4-string, that's what you can do on there. Really cool thing. And speaking of chords, if you're interested in chords, we're just a month away from my bass chords workshop happening in the last weekend of September, and I'm super pumped, excited, and we're going to be doing more of this kind of stuff over 2 days online. So if you want to join me, you want to hang out and learn more about bass chords and how you can use them, the sign-up link is down below in the description box, amongst other links. But I'm super pumped about that. Just a month away, so I'm just like, woo! And Anthony on bass, nice to see you. Made it. And if any of you if you've made it, welcome. This is number 31 of the live stream. And if you're just joining on, I was just having a look at some drop 2 and 4 chords, as well as that you can play on your 5 and 6 string basses. Or if you're only playing a 4-string bass, you can play a drop 2 chord voicing, which can still give you a nice, beautiful, full, rich sound. And these are just some of the things that I'm going to be covering in my online 2-day bass chords workshop, which is happening in exactly a month's time. So again, you can sign up down below if you want to join me for a weekend of bass chords. And Savak's basement, that bass looks AI generated. I know, it's funny. You're not the first person to said that, especially when I've posted a few pictures of this bass and the groove line basses on my Instagram. There was a few pictures like, is this AI? Because first of all, and because it also, these are Ibanez basses, and this is not a production bass. This is a customized bass, and like 3 pickups and all that stuff. I could understand how it could possibly look like it's AI. Because spamming that comment on Insta, exactly. But no, this is a very real bass. You're seeing me play it in real time, live here. I have a full video rundown here on my channel that explains the whole bass, just all the features on it. And the biggest part of this bass obviously is the electronics. That was the thing that I was that I was wanting, to be something that was that's something that I'm really into. I'm really into the way that electronics work on an instrument. I am totally into having lots of switches and knobs and all that. I love the Alembic Series 1, Series 2 basses. I just love how it looks like mission control. I'm like totally into that. And so with this, yes, there's definitely a lot going on, but it's all for, and it's actually really straightforward layout on how it works. And Ibanez were just absolutely nailed it. Like they came out way better than I expected it, and that I even thought of. But essentially the knobs, yeah, we got 3-band EQ, and I have a volume, and I've got a passive tone control, because passive tone control is, even for an active bass, even though it's called a passive tone control, it's just a tone control. It works in active and passive mode. But I wanted, and it seems to be becoming more popular, or just more of a standard these days in a lot of instruments I'm seeing, even just for stock instruments. But that was the thing that I always missed on an active bass, was that it didn't have the tone control like a passive jazz bass or precision bass might have, where if you want to really just roll off the tone to really warm it up, it's just such a beautiful sound, but it still retains a nice mid-range punch. On an active bass with like a 3-band EQ, you couldn't necessarily do that, because some of the EQs on there were only either boost or cut, or sometimes just boost. So if you really wanted to get that warm sound, you couldn't fully get it. And you can actually, if you know of a good luthier, and you have an active bass and you want to get a passive tone control put in it, you actually can do that. You can get it installed. All my active basses, I had Ibanez put that in for me. And it was, all they had to do really was, yes, they had to get the right potentiometer, and just obviously they had to drill a hole and just find the right spot to put it. And it worked out really well. So I recommend, if you're thinking of doing that on your active basses, it's definitely such a really great versatile knob to have, to really retain that warmth. And then if you want to really brighten it up, so obviously on here right now I have the let's put the EQ flat. All right, so I've got the tone control rolled all the way off. The only kind of string noise that you're probably going to be hearing is through my microphone here, but it's pretty warm, and that's turned all the way off. If I opened it up, right, like let's put it like halfway, then you can hear how obviously it's opened up. I can turn it all the way full, and you've got the slap. You got the slap thing going on, right? Just like how you would do on like a jazz bass or a precision. So I wanted this instrument to have the versatility of being able to do that, as well as, yes, the 3-band EQ, which I use a lot. And the treble on the 3-band EQ, I actually have the treble rolled all the way off. Not that time, because I just wanted to have it flat so you all could hear, but I usually have it all the way turned or rolled off, because it's still, even if I have the tone knob opened all the way, it's still, I don't like to have a lot of, I don't like to have a lot of that. I definitely like to have it a little more warmer, even on if I do have things a little brighter. That's definitely my preference, especially if you're going to do the good old back pickup growl. You'll get a nice growl like that. So that's the thing. And then the switches, okay, what are all the switches doing? Well, all right, these top layer of switches, one is for each pickup. They're just on and off switches. You know, so that's the thing. Right now, even though and this is pretty funny, when I first got this bass, I plugged it in, I turned up the volume, and my amp was on, and I'm like, oh, great, no sound. Right, the bass just like came to me for all this way, and it doesn't work, or maybe the battery or something. But I realized that all the switches were off. So when you have all the pickup switches off, there's no sound. So, and I was like, oh, okay. So it was a little freak out moment for like a few seconds. So yeah, these are just on and off switches for each pickup instead of having a blend, because I don't really need that. Just do a switch and it's cool. I have an active and passive switch as well. If I want to go into passive mode, which essentially just disengages the EQ, but the tone control still works, right? So that's really cool. And then the other switch here is just a mid-frequency select switch. So selecting whether it's the upper mid-range or the lower mids. So that's definitely really handy, especially if you want to like kind of just dial out some frequencies, or maybe you can use it as a solo boost as well, which I definitely will do sometimes, especially for like in the upper mids, just to kind of cut through as well. So yeah. So we've got a few questions here. So Savak was saying, yeah, he's been spamming that comment, literally so many things. Yep. 3-band EQ blew my mind now. And that's the other thing, this 3-band EQ, it's a Nordstrand preamp. So it's the Nordstrand 3B, which is a really powerful EQ that I've been finding. Absolutely love it. Beautiful, beautiful sound. Totally recommend if you're looking at EQs and preamps for your basses. I'd recommend looking at the Nordstrand as well. They're really great. Hey Jess Quayle, nice to see you again. I hope you feel better. And yes, I'm sure you got your music exams, so all the best for that. Thanks for stopping by. Anthony on bass, it sounds great. How hard would it be for Ibanez to make one with small adjustments? Well, it's not hard. I mean, look, especially a big company like that, they could literally make anything, but obviously they need to see it, you know, as from a point of view of like, okay, is it going to make profit? Is it going to do well? And looking at the Groove Line basses here, especially these two, they are incredible instruments, and some of the, in my opinion, they're probably the best basses that Ibanez have ever made. This is the thing, is like they didn't do very well. And I did a whole video on these basses. They are definitely a unicorn. They were just, I think they were just a little too ahead of its time in terms of like what they offer, but they're just absolute. They are for players. They were designed by bass players. They put a lot of research into those instruments. They had some top bass players contribute ideas, and they came out with this incredible instrument, but unfortunately it just didn't do very well. So that's the thing. They can make anything. They absolutely can. But if they were to make a bass like this, they absolutely can. It's not complicated. You really just, throwing in 3 pickups. The control layout is not complicated. So whether or not other people want that is the question. But this is something that I wanted. And you can absolutely get a bass modified to do that. As long as you have a luthier who knows what they're doing and they have a great reputation, it's pretty, you could do that to a jazz bass, right? This is something that has always been happening, especially in the late 60s, like early 70s. A lot of bassists with their Fenders were like, oh, we need to get some other sounds coming from it. What can we do? We put another pickup in there to get different things. We do dual outputs so we can plug it into 2 different amps, that kind of thing. That was very common. That's why you'll find like a lot of vintage Fender basses, they've had some sort of modification, because back then those basses that we consider vintage now, something like a bass from like the late 50s or something that is pre-CBS, that was not vintage. It wasn't a thing until now. Now it's just like some of them are like museum pieces, right? So that's why you'll find like an old P bass, like pre-CBS, that has like a bridge pickup, a jazz bass pickup put in it, or it might have had like a Mudbucker Gibson pickup put like right at the neck. That was common. That's what people were doing. And then other instruments, more customized instruments, started coming along. Alembics and Carl Thompsons and all kinds of instruments, just to cater for what players were wanting. So that's what that is. And Anthony is saying, I'm AI generated. Well, I think nowadays you don't know who is AI generated or not, right? Savag is saying it's called mutilation, I believe. No, the bass tone turns treble on active, but doesn't treble kind of do what tone does? No, not it's that's the misconception about a treble part on an EQ. A lot of 3-band EQs on on an active bass are just they're set at a certain frequency, and also either they will be boost and cut, so obviously they'll have a center detente, right? And they're set at a particular gain, and obviously it will be plus or minus of that treble frequency, right? Even if you were to roll it all the way off, it's not completely off. That's the thing. And some, like I said, some are only boost, so they'll have it at a certain part and they'll just boost it. I believe it was like that on the Fender Marcus Miller basses, where it was just a bass boost and a treble boost. That's what it was. So if you wanted to add more, you could do that. But with a tone control, that's totally different. That is like literally, I don't know how to technically explain it, but it is not the same as a treble control on an active EQ. It's totally different. When you have it turned off, the tone rolled off, it's very dark. It's really like there's no string noise, there's no zing going on, and that's how you can get that classic vintage sound, like on a P bass and with some flat wounds, where you have the tone control rolled all the way off. That's how you can achieve that. That's how you get that sound. But it still retains the bass and the mids. That's still there. So it's almost like an all-in-one, like a character kind of switch, where you just roll through the thing, and as you open it up more, it's going to boost the highs and some of the upper mids as well. That's what it is. So the tone knob doesn't just focus just on treble. It just focuses on the overall picture of it. That's why I think they're so good. And I use the tone knob the most for adjustments on my basses, whether I'm soloing or playing, and you can really just dial it in, just get that sweet spot for whatever you're playing. If there's a little bit of too much of string noise, you can just dial it back a bit. If you need to have a little more bite going on, you can do that. which is what I really, really like. So yeah. Yeah, and what's the difference between a passive tone knob and cutting active treble? Well, yeah, there you go. That's it. When you're cutting active treble, it's only just that frequency. It's just the treble frequency. But it doesn't. This is the thing. When you have a 3-band EQ and you cut one thing, it doesn't complement the other frequencies necessarily. And so with a tone knob, it's going to, like I said, the overall picture of it, right? But then it's just like, okay, what's the point in having like both? Well, the thing is, the way I look at EQ, a 3-band EQ on a bass, is I look at it for musical reasons. I don't use the EQ on the bass to tune to the room sound. That's what I use the EQ on my amp to do, right? Right now I have it flat on my bass amp, but if I was to go play somewhere else, it would be different because you're tuning to the acoustics of the room, right? It's not a thing of like, oh, I've got my secret settings or whatever. No, that's not a thing, all right? Your secret settings is how you know how your bass sounds, all right? And where you can dial that in, and you knowing that the knobs are not going to be in the same place in order to get that sound. Because if you're in a room that has like concrete walls, a lot of reflective surfaces, you're going to have to cut the treble, because that's going to be a lot of bright things, sounds going on, right? Or you might be in a room that is very boomy. You're going to have to reduce the bottom end, or maybe you're playing outside and you might have to put a little more bottom end. You know what I mean? Because if you know what your bass is supposed to sound like and your sound, you'll know how to dial that in. That's the thing. And so back to the bass EQ, I use that if I'm playing something and I know that just the sound in a certain passage needs to have maybe a little thicker bottom end. Maybe I'm playing on the back pickup and I just want to have just a little more fundamental going on just for like a bit. Or maybe if I'm soloing or something, maybe I need to turn up the mids just to do that. I'll do that, right? I'm not into the whole set it and forget it thing on the basses. I like to be able to make adjustments as I need to, just like a guitar player would, who's playing a Strat or a Tele. They're going between pickups to get different sounds. They're using their volume control, even though I leave my volume control all the way up. But they're using their tone control to get the different sounds, right? I approach it the same way with the controls on any of my basses, whether I'm playing that 4-string jazz bass that you can see back there that has a volume, 2 volumes and a tone, or if I'm playing this bass that has like every single switch and knob, under the sun. So that's the whole thing. So yeah, and that's what it is exactly. Savak, is that you play if you're playing on a gig, and a good example would be, say if you're playing in a band that's playing covers, right? You're playing like top 40 tunes. You're playing good old, music. You're playing a bar band or something. Like, it's going to usually be a very eclectic mix of tunes from all kinds of popular groups, really popular songs. And so that means that you're going to have to get different bass sounds to be able to fit the song, right? Sure, you could get away with maybe just you could just totally wing it and just use one sound, but this is the thing. I'll tell you right here that as a professional musician, and any professional musician, when they are playing a song, they're trying to be authentic to how the original sounds. Sure, there's that whole thing, okay, I got to put my vibe in it, I got to put my spin, but you still want to understand what was the tone, what was the original sound that the original players were doing, and in our case, the bass players, right? And you want certain tones and EQ settings. They come with the song that you're learning, the bass part that you're learning, right? Say if you're playing a Bob Marley tune, and it calls for like that deep, the Aston Family Man Barrett reggae bass tone. You're not gonna play a Jarko back pickup, gonna growl on it. Sure, you could probably get away with it, but it's not going to fit the essence of the tune. It really isn't. Or if you're playing like you're playing like a bluegrass tune, you're not going to play the Jarko thing on it, right? You're not necessarily going to use the Marcus Miller slap tone on it. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that is really important, and you can dial all these things in with your bass, and that's what to me that's what the EQ is about on your instrument, right? It's all about being able to dial in whatever you need. That's the point in it. And again, that's why I asked for, give me all the knobs, give me all the switches, give me all the pickups. Put it all in here so that I have that flexibility. Is it overwhelming? No, not at all, actually, because it might be for some. Some people like very simplistic things. They also like to see visually, I like things to be clean and say, well, that's cool. Hooray for you. All right. I like to have controls. I like things to push and flip and all that. So yeah. So yeah, that's what this AI generated bass can do. No, just kidding. If you got any questions, the bass playing, obviously we always talk about gear, which is always a fun thing for me, but anything to do with concepts, techniques, anything like that, so you can drop it down in the chats. Have a little finish off my coffee here, get all the good bits in the bottom. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, there's a link down below as well there where you can do so. I definitely like the coffees, especially before the live streams, and usually it's pretty funny. Like I start off like, all right, kind of a little cold, well, kind of getting there, and then as I go through the coffee, hey everybody, so this is what I can do with the treble knob right here, and I just talk for 2 hours about the treble knob, so so yeah. I got any froth on my face? No, should be good. So as Savak said, I suck with chords. I can hear the root note, but I can't tell what chords are being played. That's a good question. And no, I don't stream anywhere else like Twitch. No, YouTube is totally fine and perfect for me, especially in terms of the tech side of things. So yeah, it's on YouTube. And so obviously, for those if you're new to the stream, this is a weekly thing, and I've been doing this for 31 weeks already, and it happens every Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Excuse me, that might change when daylight savings around the world changes. All right, some people are going to go into daylight savings, some people are going to come out. So just know that it happens every Wednesdays Pacific Standard Time. So going back to chords, so how you can hear the root note, which is very important, obviously, but you want to be able to tell what chords are being played. So the important thing, and I'll give you something that can really help you with this. And again, if you want to know more about chords and all that, in a month's time, I'm doing my bass chords workshop here online. So if you'd like to join me on that for a weekend, the link is down below. And what's cool with chords is that if you, especially, for any chord, any instrument really, you have the root, and you have a third, and you have a seventh. All right, that's going to give you a good bulk of the information that you need to know in terms of like, okay, what type of chord. So that means, all right, you need to get familiar with, okay, what do the different thirds sound like? So obviously we have two different thirds. We have a major third and we have a minor third. So if I was to play this note here, which is a D, this can be our root note, okay? Now, let's play, that's a major third, right? And it also helps to sing it too, right? You don't have to be a singer, but it's good to, you know, and then we can do a minor third, which is just half step down, right? And there's that whole thing that we get taught, like, okay, how do you know which one is which? Well, when you listen to a major chord, generally it's associated with like very happy, joyous feelings, right? And then we go down here and it gets a little more darker and things are going to be, oh no, here comes the rain. Even though the rain is good for the plants and animals and everything, we need the rain, but you know what I mean? And then, oh, here comes the sunshine again. Everyone loves the sunshine, right? So obviously, getting familiar with your major and minor thirds, super important. The sevenths, okay, so now this is getting into, all right, the seventh chord. So the seventh degree in a scale. So if we're playing a major scale, obviously we're going to play a major 7. So the seventh note of the scale, right? So if I'm playing a root, a major third, and a major 7, that's giving me a major 7 chord, right? And that's just 3 notes right there. This is what we could also call a shell voicing, because it's the shell of a chord. But they're definitely, this is something that also will help you with improvisation too, is if you know your thirds and your sevenths, that's going to help you be able to navigate through just, you know, any kind of chord change. So that's a major 7, all right? Now what about just a 7th chord, so a dominant 7. So we're going to move the 7th down, right? Major 7, dominant 7. All right, now what about in a minor context? Okay, well, let's leave the 7th where it's at, and let's move the minor, the third down to a minor third. Right? So what it is, it's like you need to train your ears to understand and to just recognize what these chords sound like, right? Obviously in its basic form. Now then, okay, let's bring in things like a diminished fifth, a perfect fifth, and a augmented fifth, okay? So going back to this voicing right here. Now I'm gonna play it a little differently because, like I said in the beginning of the stream, it's a little difficult to play root, third, fifth, and seventh in that order on a bass, unless we do this very uncomfortable shape. But just for demonstration purposes, I'll do that. So, okay, we have our shell voicing, right? Root, third, seventh. But now let's put in the fifth. It's a perfect fifth. All right, so you can hear the chord is more complete, right? Now, what if we were to play a augmented fifth, like raise the fifth up. So a sharp 5. Really cool. Definitely takes our nice, beautiful major 7 chord and just makes it, ha 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 ha. I might be pretty on the outside, but on the inside, I'm gonna get you. You know, that kind of vibe. Add some tension, add some suspense there, right? And then I can also do a flat 5 if I wanted to, and then that kind of turns it into what we call a Lydian chord. And that's a really nice voicing. And a Lydian chord is typically derived from the sharp 4. So that's the other thing too, is that, but some people have also argued that, hey, it's also like a flat 5. I always go off of sharp 4 because when you play the Lydian scale, you're literally raising the 4th and you're still playing a perfect 5th in there. Right? But the sharp 4, you would put that up the octave, right? To make it Lydian, and so it becomes the sharp 11 because the sharp 4 up the octave, sharp 11. So instead of here, it'll be there. Right, so it'll be the voice up on top. So really nice sound. Now, okay, in a minor context, let's go back to. So now this is the thing. This is a really hard one to do. And you're playing minor, you're playing this shape. Now, if I was to play a flat 5 to make it a half diminished, that's the thing, is that it's going to give you that sound, that half diminished sound. And why is it called half diminished? Well, if it was fully diminished, it would also, the 7th would also be lowered. The minor 7th will be lowered to what some people would consider the 6th, or like in the Dorian mode. But because it's a natural minor scale, it's not a Dorian scale. So when you play a fully diminished, you have a root, you have a minor 3rd, you got a flat 5, and I'm gonna have to tap this one here. You have a diminished 7, right? Instead of. So this is half diminished, where it's only just the first half of the arpeggio that is diminished. So really just the 5th is flattened. But to make it fully diminished, we can do it with the 7th as well. So yeah. So exactly, like I said, in a Lydian, you already have a perfect 5th, right? It's just the 4th that is raised. That's how that is. And typically when we play, playing in jazz, when you see a major 7 chord, it's always going to be implied that you use the sharp 4 instead of the perfect 4th, or especially on top. We're always going to use the Lydian mode, just because that makes more sense in terms of following through harmony, like with your ears. I think I demonstrated this a few weeks ago, but essentially if I was to play a Lydian, a major 7 chord, and if I played the natural 11, which is the perfect 4th, it's like, I'll do it this way. It's like, no, I don't like that. So let's make it Lydian. There we go. That makes more sense. So that's why, keyboard players, guitar players, when they see a major 7, they're going to, and when you're improvising, you're going to use the Lydian mode to do so, especially in jazz and R&B and all that. That's just such a beautiful sound as well. The Lydian, the Lydian mode is just gorgeous. So yeah, yeah, exactly. It sounds like time inside. So you can see why Lydian is the way to go, right? Oh my God, you're cracking me up, Savak. I love it. So, and Anthony's asking, is it naive to think that I could, going back to the preamp, is it naive to think that I could set and forget the preamp and then change my hand position, playing technique for tone in a live playing scenario? Look, there is that there is that argument of like, oh, the tone is in your hands and your fingers, which is absolutely true. Yes. But there is still going to be things you need to dial in and dial out that your hands they can't necessarily do. That's the truth of the matter. I've heard so many different bass players play on my basses, play on my upright, and they've always sounded like themselves. And I've sounded like myself when I've played other people's basses. I've played Victor Wooten's Yin Yang Federa bass, and I sounded like myself on it. It didn't sound like, even when I tried to do my Victor Wooten licks on it, it didn't sound anything. I was just like, am I playing the right bass? Yeah, is this actually Victor's bass? Yes, it is. Because he handed it to me to play it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So yes, the tone is in your hands. You can make adjustments dynamically and all that. But still, if it's not going to, if there is too much of treble or something is too boomy, your hands can't change that, right? You need to be able to adjust that. So that's why, for me, I'm not about the set it and forget it. That doesn't work for me, and especially in a professional setting, on gigs, in recording sessions, you need to be able to dial anything. I remember seeing these basses. They looked absolutely gorgeous. It was at the NAMM show like a few years back, and it didn't have any controls on it. It was just bare. And I said, oh, so is it just the pickups just wired to the output jack and it goes straight into the amp, and is it just straight up like that? Because sure, I can appreciate something like that. I mean, I have to do that with my upright bass. My upright bass doesn't have any controls. It's literally just the piezo pickup. You plug it into the amp and you use the amp to dial in the tone, or you can use a little preamp. And he said, no, the controls are in the back. You have to unscrew the thing, and they're little potentiometer things. You got to use a screwdriver to dial in the sound that you want, and then you just leave it. And I said, well, what about if you're in a setting? And it was like that it had 2 pickups. It was like that for the pickup settings as well. You couldn't adjust the pickups. And I said, well, what if I want to go to the bridge pickup, like in the middle of a song? Say if I wanted to take a solo and I want to use the bridge pickup. What do I do then? He said, so you can't. I was like, oh, it's not very helpful, is it? Well, I didn't say that to him. I said, interesting. So that was, I think that was probably like a complete nightmare for me of an instrument. I'm like, no, it looks beautiful. It sounded great, but I want to have the option and the flexibility to be able to dial in my thing whenever I need to. Or what if I need to? What if I want to just, okay, I played a song and I had to do a Marcus slap thing, and then the next song, or I got to do a James Jamerson P-bass thing. Sure, I could like pick up a P bass and do that, but what if I just want to, what if it was like I could just use one bass on the gig and dial in the tones that I need? I want to be able to do that, right? So tell me what you think. I know some people are not into a lot of controls and all that. They like simplicity. I totally get it. But what do you think about having like absolutely no controls, no knobs on your instrument? I know Anthony Jackson on his bass, he doesn't have anything on his bass because his pickups are just wired to the output jack. And his output jack, I believe, is a XLR. And he puts that through whatever processors and preamps. He uses like very like high quality pro audio, like Neve kind of stuff, like for live gigs. He will do that because he's a super audiophile when it comes to bass tone. That's why he has such a incredible, like very unique sound that just works very well on a lot of things. But from what I've seen, he's still someone who will have a little outboard preamp to dial in whatever EQ that he needs. If he needs to bump up the mid or needs to bring back something, he can do that. He'll have it just like, kind of on the ground to the side. So really interesting. Man, time has been flying by here, which is always the case here. But we're still flying high here. Definitely the caffeine, coffee has been flowing through my system really nicely. So which is always fun. And thank you, Savak. I really appreciate the bass tone. The tone has always been a big important thing. Because it's part of what we do, and we want to make sure that obviously that things sound clear and concise, but we always want to make sure that whatever situation that we're playing in, that we fit in, right? That it complements the other instruments. It complements the drums. It complements the keyboards, the vocalists. We want to make sure that it caters and that it's going to add to the overall picture of the sonic picture of what is being heard. That's something that I'm a big, that is a big deal for me. I'm always about that. And so that's something that I'm always wanting to just always improve on and always consider, right? And a lot of the top core bassists are the same way as well. That's why you'll see a lot of them. Sure, they'll have their traditional basses with them on the session, but a lot of times they are playing like active basses, especially for recordings, because they know it can, it gets a great tone in the mix, and they can dial it in however they need to. That's the thing. And would you say your bass covers you in most things? I find it hard to get the tone of a jazz bass with both pickups on. Yeah, so my bass, absolutely, this bass in particular, and also if you can see it, sometimes I use it on my live streams, the Grooveline 6-string. That's my main instrument right there. That gets it covers everything. And in terms of the jazz bass tone, so this is something that is also very unique to this bass too, and the Grooveline, is that these two pickups right here are in what we call the 1960s jazz bass positions. So the same spot as it is on a 1960s jazz bass, right? That's a very traditional sound. And I really like that sound. I love it with both pickups on, the bridge pickup and the neck pickup. And because it's a very traditional type of sound, it's a very usable sound that you can use in a lot of just about absolutely everything. And also these pickup positions for a 6-string bass playing up high is really nice as well. So that's a big part of my sound, is being able to dial in a traditional sound, because from the source I have it there. Now, if you were to have an instrument that has maybe 2 soap bar pickups, then that's going to be different than a jazz bass sound, because it's using wider and bigger magnets, and it's covering a bigger field of the string, of where the harmonics are, whereas these are like single coils, so it's going to be a narrower field in each part of the string, right? And from what I understand, the each position of where the pickups are, especially for the 60s, are mathematically where the harmonics are on the string. That's something that Leo Fender had figured out. Like, I'll put the pickups where there are going to be harmonics, because that will be the tone, and that just is something that worked out. So that's the thing, is that when you play an instrument that has 2 pickups, that is like the soap bar pickups, it's going to be different, but you can still, it's still going to be a modern sound. It's still going to be a really good sound. You just have to know how to dial it in properly. It's not going to sound like a jazz bass, but it'll sound just like a nice kind of modern bass, something that like maybe like Nathan East uses or used to use. He used to use a bass. His Yamaha bass had wider pickups. Maybe something kind of like Andrew Goucher. He uses the Bartolini pickups on his MTD, and it definitely he dials it in really nice. It almost has a very Marcus Miller, almost Stingray, Music Man kind of vibe to it, because he has a very bright sound, but there's still a nice punch and low end to it, which makes it has a really modern vibe, which I really appreciate. So I definitely use him as a model of someone who uses the soap bar pickups and puts both of them on, and can still make it hang in a way that it's like almost like jazz bass kind of vibe. Yeah, you know what I mean? So he's definitely an influence, just of his incredible bass playing, but his tone as well, that I really appreciate. Of course, John Patitucci, in terms of like, he uses both pickups for his conventional sound on his 6-string bass. And whether it was on his old Ken Smith or his Yamahas, which he mainly uses, but I've never heard Patitucci use like either just the neck pickup or just the bridge pickup. He's always been someone who's, because his sound is both pickups on, and I mean he just absolutely has a nice, beautiful, natural tone with that. So yeah. So that's cool. So pickup placement is important. It really is. And for me, the 60s jazz bass spacing is the one. 70s is cool. 70s is where the bridge pickup is a little closer to the bridge, and that's how Marcus Miller has that sound. It's just a touch different. And some people will say, but you can just like dial that in with EQ. No, you can't, because you're changing something from the source. You move something just a touch, it changes it. It changes where the magnet is over whatever harmonic at that point. You move it just a little bit, and it changes the tone so much. So that's why Jaco for the back pickup growl, that is, to me, in my opinion, is the sound. If you want to get that sound, is the 60s bridge pickup spacing. And I remember talking to Gary Willis about it, and he said, yeah, no, that's where it needs to be. he totally agrees, and he has such a gorgeous sound on his fretless. So, and cool, you got a Yamaha TRB, yeah, the amber finish, and that will be totally different from a jazz bass tone. That will definitely be, it's a very modern bass tone, but it's I used to have a bass that had soap bar pickups. My old BTB bass, I don't have it anymore, but that definitely had a particular sound. But I don't have any basses that have. They're all single coils or split coils if it's a P bass, and that's just the sound that I've really preferred. That I'm really into. It's a very powerful kind of vibe, especially the pickups that are on here. These are the Ibanez. Well, these two are the Ibanez Sonic Arch pickups, and then this middle one is a Aguilar 60s 6-string bass P bass pickup, which is really cool. And just by itself, it doesn't sound like a P bass at all because it's not. And again, pickup placement, the spacing where it is, it doesn't sound like a P bass. Because it's not in the spot of where a P bass pickup would be on a P bass. That's the thing. The bridge pickup here, if I just have that on, that sounds like a P bass. And so the reason why that sounds like it is because if you look at the first half of the strings, the lower strings of where this pickup is, this is exactly where a P bass would be, the P bass pickup would be. And then for the higher strings, then we would have the split coil, right? Just like here, this part here would be shifted over here. That's how that would be. And then that would be the P bass tone, right? But where this is much further back. So it's going to give you a little more bridge kind of vibe. It almost, on the highest strings, because this side is closer, it's almost in Music Man Stingray territory. So, oh, no, not that sound. Right? Now, if I was to then put this pickup and this pickup on, it's a little more closer. A little more closer to a Music Man. So that's the really cool thing about it. And again, it's a reason why I had this bass like this, is because it gives you these different options. And really, what influenced me to get this middle pickup thrown in there is just like, hey, well, let's put a third pickup and let's just put it in the middle and just see what happens. And there we go. I've seen, and this is not my original idea. People have been doing this, even with their jazz basses. Obviously, a lot of you know the Stu Ham Urge Fender bass from the early 90s. He had 3 pickups in there, with the P pickup in between the 2 jazz bass pickups, right? But from what I understand, the jazz bass pickups were not in the 60s position. They were in a totally different position. So it was a totally different sound. And then we've seen pickups where maybe I have a reversed P bass pickup in the middle, right? Or a Music Man pickup in the middle. So it's not like it's just something where I was like, hey, if I'm getting a custom bass, let's throw 3 pickups in it. Why not? Why not? Let's do that. Let's go all out. I think I'll play some music. We've done quite a lot of talking here. We talked about drop voicings. We've talked about seventh chords and recognizing that. So again, yes, Savak, just get familiar with the thirds, sevenths, and the different fifths, and those are your important chord tones right there. And then you can start getting into the color tones, which would be like your extensions, your ninths, 11s, and 13s, right? But it's important, to recognize, to just whether on a piano or on your bass, just play these chords, all right? You want a root, you want some type of third, you want some type of fifth, and some type of seventh, all right? Get used to the different alterations that you can have of those, so either a minor third or a major third, a perfect fifth, diminished fifth, augmented fifth, and for a seventh, either it's a major 7, a dominant 7, or if you're playing in a minor chord context with a minor third, you can do a minor 7th, or you can put a major 7 in there too, and you get this sound. Right? You get that very mysterious, suspicious sound that you've heard in a lot of television and movies. So that's something to get familiar with. You train your ears to hear those sounds, you'll be able to recognize chords more quickly and instantly. So yeah, I'm going to play some music here because this is always a big part of what I do here on the live streams, is playing a bunch of music, and usually a lot of it is music that I've played on gigs throughout my career. With different amazing artists that I've been fortunate to have collaborated with and play with, and people who have helped shape my career and who have influenced me a lot and have also given me the opportunity and a platform to be me and to help me grow. And that's always important for any musician, really, any artist. Is to be in that kind of environment. So I was going to play some tunes here. Usually I do 2, but let's see. I'm going to play, since we were having a look at chords and like in all that, I'm going to play a tune here from a band that I used to play in called Strange Jazz Universe. And Strange Jazz Universe is led by a great drummer named Ronald Bruner Sr. And if you know the Bruner family, this is Thundercat's dad, who is an incredible drummer. And I played in his band for many years, and we had a lot of fun. And of course, Ronald Bruner Jr. is absolute monstrous drummer, and their other son, Jamil Bruner, who is a great keyboard player and producer. So, obviously a very talented family, and their mother, Bruner Mama, she's a great flautist, a flute player. So a really talented family, to say the least, really. But this is a tune that I absolutely loved playing with Strange Jazz Universe. It was a tune that Senior wrote, and it's a tune he wrote for George Duke called Dawili Gonga, which is actually George Duke's Swahili name, which I didn't know until I asked Ron. I was like, what does that mean? So this is another George Duke, because we absolutely love George Duke here on the stream. And so this version here. A few years ago I recorded with Ronald, where essentially I did the bass tracks and I did all the chordal tracks. So there's no keyboards on this track. It's just me. I double layered the chords and I did a solo, as well as my good friend and the saxophone player in the band, Keith McKelly, played on this. So this is essentially on this track just the three of us, just Ronald on drums, and he did a little bit of keyboard production or whatever, effects. Keith McKelly on sax, and myself playing bass chords and doing a bass solo. So you're not going to hear me playing the bass line on this. I'm going to be the guitar player on this track. I'm going to be playing chords and I'll be taking a solo. So we're going to switch the roles a little, and then maybe for the next song I'll play some bass. So here we go. This is Dawili Gonga. I'm going to just dial in my sound here, because that's really important, as we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes. This Dawili Gonga. Interesting getting into playing the chordal accompaniment role instead of like playing bass. And when we would play this live, obviously I'd play bass because we had a keyboard player and a guitar player. It was Stephen Thurston playing keys and Jamie Kime playing guitar. Incredible guitar player. He's someone who played a lot with the with the Zappa Plays Zappa band. So that was very complicated. The Frank Zappa music, obviously, but it was so cool playing with those cats. And we really got to, with that lineup of musicians, with Keith McKelly playing sax and Ron Senior on drums, with that lineup, we really got to explore the like a lot of the potential of this music that Ron had written. A lot of it, is some really quirky kind of music as well, which was a lot of fun. And we did a few really cool covers too. There was also a vocalist in the band, Katya Koren, and she would sing on a few songs. But it was such a really just fun band to really just stretch out, and we would really just take it many different places, which is always really fun. So yeah, that's Dawili Gonga, and that's there is a recorded version of us playing that you can check out. So really cool. So Dawili Gonga, I'll put it down here in the chat. Dawili Gonga, and again, that's George Duke's Swahili name. So I'm going to play another tune here, and I'm going to get go back into the bass playing role. And I haven't played this tune in probably since we last played it, which was 11 years ago. But this is a tune by a good friend of mine, incredible drummer from New Zealand, but he is living in the UK right now and is just absolutely kicking butt. His name is Maeli Manzanza, and this is a tune of his that we recorded on his first live record, which is called One. And we recorded this 11 years ago at the Blue Whale. And it was just an absolutely great show. It was filmed and all that. And great band as well. It was Mark DeClivelo playing keyboards and doing effects and all that. Miguel Atwood Ferguson was playing electric violin, as well as on some tunes he had his string quartet, Quarteto Fantastico, who are absolutely incredible. It's like his group of string players that he arranges for and will bring in on sessions for all kinds of artists. So they were on it. Nia Andrews, a great vocalist, she's singing on this, and there is also a rapper on here named Charlie K, and he specifically flew in from Philadelphia to just do his verse on this, which was really cool. And there's actually a live video, very beautifully produced video from this show of this tune that I'm going to play on YouTube. And this tune here is called City of Atlantis. So enjoy City of Atlantis. And now I have to dial in my sound for this tune for playing bass. So going from the lead guitar kind of role to going to just bass player. So I will be able to dial it in right now, and then we'll get started.
of Atlantis on the watercolor canvas. The market is saturated and ignorance is standard. But way above the surface is purpose and perseverance. This is business, never personal, so hold your breath and hear it. Trendsetters adapting to any weather, redefining the definition of doing it better. I mean, get immersed in the first of many. Spin a verse through the wire, electrifying the city. Hydrating, crowds waiting, sounds blazing over a pace in this past patient. Dissipating the place with the flow for the masses. I hope everybody's prepared, cause we posting the passion. I know for certain we the veterans, better than what you ever been. Sleeping like a sedative, yeah, the medicine. No preservative, verbal murdering, all conservatives. A blessing, a lesson, to question everything you purchasing. In the city of Atlantis. Of Atlantis. Yeah.
City of Atlantis by Maeli Manzanza. And that was live that we did that 11 years ago at the Blue Whale. A lot of fun. It was such a great night, just absolutely packed. And then we did like a little mini tour, which was a lot of fun. We went over to New York as well and played. Where did we play? I can't. It's an old club that's been around for a while. I can't remember the name of it now. But anyway, that is time right here for this week's live stream. And I really appreciate you all joining in and asking some great questions. We definitely did some nerdy stuff and the bass chords, and especially EQs, pickups, and all that, which I absolutely love. So I really appreciate your questions. It was nice to connect with you on here. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and like and subscribe here to my YouTube channel. That way you can be notified every time I go live, which is every week on Wednesdays, 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yes, that will change once daylight savings will end and start for some people, to make things even more complicated. But hey, we'll figure it out. We've done it before. We'll do it again. It's all good. Some people get to add more sleep. Some people will have less sleep. But, we figure it out. It's all good. And what else? Yes, all my links to my bass resources are down below in the description box. Again, we're just a month away from the bass chords workshop, which I'm super pumped about. And we're going to have a lot of fun and just nerd out about chords. So if you're interested, you want to know more about bass chords, go ahead, sign up, and I'll see you at the workshop, which, again, is a month away, and it's going to be super exciting. I've got a little bit of coffee dregs here, but if you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can do so as well. There's a link for that as well, because coffee is really fun, especially when talking about bass. Bass and coffee just go so well together that it really does. And if there's anything I can do to help you with your bass playing and your bass journey, please reach out to me through my website or on social media. I have coaching programs, I've got courses, all that great stuff, all the bass resources to help you with your bass playing, as well as my free course down below, which can help you prepare for the professional bass playing world, what you need to know in order to be someone who can be a top chord player, or just if you want to have an idea on things to work up to. There's a free course to help you figure that out, because we all need great, proficient bass players in any music scene in the world. And when there are lots of great bass players, we can have lots of really good music, and we can have nice, thriving music scenes. So if you've thought about wanting to become a professional bassist, you want to level up your gigs, you want to know what you can do to your bass lines to play on a more professional level, there's a course down below that can help you do that. But again, just thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. This is always such a fun hang. And if you're tuning in for the very first time, welcome, thank you. And I hope to see you again next week. If you are a regular viewer, nice to see you again. I really appreciate the support, as always. And wherever you are in the world, take care, be safe, have fun playing music, have fun playing your bass. All right, no matter what anyone says, just be you. All right, you've got your voice, you got your sound, your instrument. Have at it. The sky is the limit. All right, so take care. And I'll play a little bit of exit music here for you while everyone, pays up their bar tabs, and don't forget to, tip your, the wait staff and all that, and make sure you pick up your belongings, your coats, your jackets. Don't leave any phones behind, anything like that. If you need to get to-go bags or take-home boxes and all that, make sure you ask for that right now, because, that can be a good breakfast, So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you all. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next time.